He had lost the only thing of value he had left in the world. A single silver coin, passed down through 4 generations, was gone, swallowed by the dry, useless dirt of his barren farm. But in his desperate, frantic search for this small, lost treasure, God was about to lead his shovel to a financial breakthrough so immense, so unimaginably vast, that it would not only save his family, but make them wealthy for generations to come. This is the powerful, true story of how God can use your moment of greatest loss to lead you to your most profound and unexpected blessing. The farmer's name was Elias, and he was a man well acquainted with scarcity. His land was rocky and unforgiving, and years of drought had baked it into a cracked, dusty wasteland. Every day was a battle for survival, a struggle to coax enough life from the stubborn soil to feed his family. His only tangible connection to a past of better times was the silver coin. It was his great-grandfather's, worn smooth by the hands of his ancestors. It was not just money. It was a symbol of heritage, of resilience, of a legacy he felt he was failing to uphold. The stakes were not just about the coin's monetary value, they were about his identity. To lose the coin was to lose the last vestige of his family's honor. He had been carrying it in his pocket, a habit he had when he was worried, rubbing it for comfort as he surveyed his withered crops. It must have fallen out somewhere in the West Field, a 40-acre expanse of failure. Panic, cold and sharp, seized him. He searched for hours, his eyes scanning every inch of the cracked earth, his hope dwindling with the setting sun. The feeling was one of utter devastation. The dry, rust-colored dust seemed to mock him, a symbol of the emptiness of his life. That night, he prayed a raw, angry prayer. "Fampa," he asked God, his voice a broken whisper in the darkness. "Haven't you taken enough? Why take the last thing I had?" He received no answer but the sound of the wind whistling through the eaves of his small farmhouse. The next morning, armed with a shovel, he returned to the field. He was driven by a desperate, illogical hope. He began to dig, not methodically, but randomly, plunging the shovel into the hard-packed earth wherever his desperation led him. He was digging for a coin, a tiny piece of silver. He had no idea he was actually digging for his destiny. The work was grueling. The sun beat down on his back, and the dust filled his lungs. The sensation was one of pointless, punishing labor. The metal shovel scraped against the rocks with a sound that grated on his nerves. Hours passed. He was about to give up, to finally surrender to the crushing weight of his loss, when the shovel struck something that was not a rock. It didn't make the familiar grating scrape. It made a dull, heavy thud. And then, a strange, dark liquid began to seep up from the ground around the tip of the shovel. It was thick, black, and viscous, with a strange, pungent smell he had never encountered before. What was this black poison seeping from the heart of his useless land? His first thought was that his land was not just barren, but cursed. He had been digging for a symbol of his family's past, and instead, he had uncovered a dark and mysterious substance. He felt a wave of fear and confusion. He had lost his last treasure, and now his land itself was bleeding. He gathered a sample of the black liquid in a jar and took it to the nearby town, to the office of the state geologist. The geologist, a man accustomed to analyzing soil and rock samples, took one look at the jar, and his professional demeanor vanished, replaced by an expression of pure, unadulterated shock. He performed a few quick tests, his hands moving with a new urgency. He then looked at Elias, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Sir," the geologist said, his voice hushed with awe, "what you have found is not a curse. It's crude oil. And from the looks of this sample, it's a very high grade of it." Elias just stared at him, the words not making sense. The geologist explained that the farmer's barren, rocky land was likely sitting on top of a massive, previously undiscovered oil reserve. The single shovel strike, his desperate search for a lost coin, had pierced the caprock of a geological formation worth millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars. The transformation of that moment is almost impossible to comprehend. He had walked into that office as a poor farmer, crushed by the loss of a single silver coin. He walked out as one of the wealthiest men in the state. He had been praying about a symptom, his poverty, symbolized by the lost coin. But God was providing a cure for the disease itself. This is a breathtaking example of God's divine economy. Elias was focused on his loss, on what was gone, but God was focused on his abundance, on what was hidden. This is the essence of the prosperity and abundance framework, viewed through a spiritual lens. It is not about demanding wealth from God. It is about understanding that our greatest blessings are often hidden beneath the surface of our greatest trials. God had to take the coin from Elias to get him to dig. He had to create a small, painful loss to guide him to an unimaginable gain. The desperate search, the sweat, the frustration, it was all part of a divine plan. It was the work required to unearth the blessing that had been waiting for him all along, buried deep beneath his feet. The story is a powerful parable for our own lives. We often pray for God to solve our immediate problems, to return our lost coins. We are focused on the surface of our lives. But God is working on a deeper level. He sees the vast, untapped reserves of potential and blessing that lie dormant within us and our circumstances. Sometimes, He will allow a loss. He will allow a period of desperate searching and digging. It is in that struggle, in that act of seeking, that we break through the hard, rocky surface of our own limitations and strike the source of our true abundance. Your barren field might be a dead-end job, a struggling relationship, or a period of creative drought. Your lost coin might be a missed opportunity or a painful failure. Do not despair. Pick up your shovel, start digging. You may be only 1 foot away from striking a reservoir of blessings so vast it will change your life and the lives of your family for generations. God does not cause our pain, but He will never waste it. He will use our greatest losses as a divine map, guiding our shovels to the exact spot where our treasure is buried. If you are ready to discover the hidden abundance that lies beneath your own struggles, consider following for more messages of divine hope and transformation.